supposed to be going to Madison on Wednesday? This guy up there said, thanks for going to Madison, so Rock County. I don't know that. Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock, and I would like to call the Beloit City Council meeting to order at this time. May we have a roll call?
Roll call shows all councilors present.
Item number 2 is Pledge of Allegiance. Will all stand, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is special orders of the day and announcements. There are none. Item 4, public hearings. Item 4A, please.
Proposed ordinance to amend the zoning district map to change the zoning district classification from PUD, Planned Unit Development District, to R1A, Single Family Residential District, for the properties located at 731 Christ Road and 732 Newark Road. First reading, suspend the rules for second. Plan Commission recommendation for approval, 4-0.
Mrs. Christensen.
You may recall that these lots were, a PUD was approved on these lots, and it was called crisscrossing, and it was the construction of 4 duplexes, 2 single-family condominium buildings for a total of 10 dwelling units. It was approved in 2007. That land never developed. Rock County actually foreclosed on it for taxes, and at this point it's owned by Whirling Wheel Enterprise LLC. But the PUD Master Land Use Plan has officially lapsed and is of no further force in effect. And when that occurs, the zoning ordinance directs us to initiate the rezoning back to the R1A's single-family residential zoning district. So that's what is before you this evening. Plan Commission did review this and recommended approval, and we'd ask that you suspend the rules and do the second reading tonight.
Okay, thank you. Item 4A is a public hearing. At this time, I would like to open up the public hearing on item 4A. Is there anyone wishing to speak on item 4A this evening? Anyone wishing to speak on item 4A this evening? Third and final call, anyone wishing to speak on item 4A this evening? Seeing none, I would like to close the public hearing at this time and entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Noonan, second by Lupke. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passing 7-0. Now to the merits. Motion by DeForest, second by Haynes. All those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. 4B, please.
A proposed ordinance to amend the zoning district map to change the zoning district classification from DH Development Holding District to R1A Single Family Residential District for the property located at 2357 Fieldcrest Road. First reading, suspend the rules for second. Plan Commission recommendation for approval, 4-0.
Mrs. Christensen, please.
In 2007, the applicants constructed a single-family dwelling in the northeastern corner of an approximately 30-acre ag parcel. This was permitted because only one single-family dwelling was on that property. Late last year, they commissioned a certified survey map to separate the house from the remainder of the land, and the CSM was a 1.474 acre parcel for the house and a 28 acre parcel for the remaining ag land. One of the conditions of approval was that they initiate a rezoning from the development holding zoning classification to the R1A, which is the more appropriate zoning classification for just the house lot. That's what's on your agenda tonight. Plan Commission did review this item and voted unanimously to recommend approval of it, and I'd ask that you suspend the rules this evening and approve it.
Thank you. Item 4B is public hearings. At this time, I would like to open up the public hearings for item 4B. Is there anyone wishing to speak on item 4B this evening? Anyone wishing to speak on item 4B this evening? Third and final call, anyone wishing to speak on item 4B this evening? Seeing none, I would like to close the public hearing and entertain a motion from council. Motion by Lukey, second by Haynes. All those in favor of suspending the rules say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0. Councilor DeForest.
I do have a question,
Okay.
President Levy. I just want to be clear that the 28 parcel that was separated from this single family parcel, that still remain agricultural land. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay. It's been motion seconded approved to suspend the rules for the second reading. Now to the merits.
Move on the merits, Mr. President.
Motion by Vander Bogart, second by Noonan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Item 5 is citizens' participation. We reach a point on the agenda where citizens may come forward to speak. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Refrain from personal attack of council, staff. When you speak, we may not act on your discussion, but we may refer to your property department for this further follow-up. We do have a person that's filled out a citizen participation sign-up sheet, and it's Don. Hello, Don.
Thank you, sir. Don Hillberg, 1128 Partridge. Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. President, council, city manager, and city attorney, President Levy. All that glitters is not gold. The casino does not bring quality of life to Beloit. And President Levy spoke about that several weeks ago, about being positive, a brighter future. The question is, what kind of future do we want for our city? I, for one, want a city known for America's pastime and Beloit snappers, for the world-renowned Beloit College, for the vibrant downtown, and the thriving, beautiful riverfront, and the songs of summer at Riverfest, the symphony pops on the 4th of July, and the renowned Beloit International Film Festival, and for the world headquarters of great companies like ABC Supply, Carrier Ingredients, and Regal Beloit. This is Beloit. I don't want, and I don't think Beloit needs, a blemish of vice on the outskirts of our town. The dollar estimate has the city receiving 2% or $7 million annually from the casino. The casino receives then about 98%, obviously, which amounts to $350 million a year. Where does all this money come from? You can bet your biffy it does not come from prudent investors or prudent citizens. And where's the saturation point for gambling? 10 states in 2010 have already expanded gambling there. Sheboygan plans a casino on Lake Michigan. The Potawatomi tribe in Milwaukee plans a 20-story addition to their hotel, hoping for Beloit and Sheboygan and gamblers.
Got 1 minute there.
Okay. Rockford seeks a new casino. Every convenience store sells lottery tickets. Taverns have video poker games, and on and on and on. The region and the country is flush with gambling. Do we sell our city's soul for $7 million? Or do we invest our children's future in virtue, a high quality of life, hard work, and a city we can be proud of with a wholesome reputation? Your choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak under citizens' participation this evening? Seeing none, I would like to close that portion of the agenda and move to item 6, which is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda. Is there any councilor would like anything removed from the consent agenda?
Mr. President, I'd like to have 6C removed, please.
6C will be removed. The consent agenda now consists of items 6A and 6B. Is there a motion for approval for that portion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Noonan. Is there a second? Second by Spreitzer. All those in favor of approving that portion of the agenda say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that portion passes 7-0. 6C, please.
A resolution authorizing the city manager of the city of Beloit to submit an application to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for a dam removal grant.
Mr. Flash.
Thank you. The city was contacted by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources requesting that we apply for the grant to remove this small dam on Springbrook in Leeson's Park. They felt that it was time for it. It's not in very good condition. It doesn't generate any power or anything like that, and the removal and restoration to its natural state would be beneficial to the stream's flows, the aquatic life, and because it's in the park, it would make it a nice amenity too to have gone. The approximate cost is $20,000 for the removal. It's a reimbursement grant, so we pay for it, we apply for the reimbursement, they send us the money.
Okay. Council Noonan, you have a question?
No, that answers all my questions. It brings back fond memories for me. I hope I didn't cause some of the problems to it. When I was a young kid. I had a lot of fun playing with it. And I do plan on voting for this. It's so important. I'm so glad that we continue to do that for the natural habitat out there. But it'll be sad to see it.
And before we move to a motion, Councilor Noonan, this is not, I know we don't televise to millions of people, but you know what you do as a kid, you might want to not put it out in the public, you know.
I try to refrain from getting into any specific details.
Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Spreitzer, second by Noonan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Item 7 is ordinances. There are none. Item 8 is appointments. The undersigned Kevin D. Levy, duly elected president of the Beloit City Council, subject to confirmation by the Beloit City Council, does hereby appoint the following citizen members to the vacancy in terms indicated below. Said appointments being pursuant to nominations made and approved by the Appointment Review Committee at the regular meeting held February 13, 2012. To the Disabled Parking Enforcement Assistant Council, Sherry Lynn Bennigan, 1761 Fayette Avenue, replacing Pearl Marzetti, to a term ending October 31st, 2014. To Landmarks Commission, Ellen E. Joyce, 1134 Eaton Avenue, replacing Sherry Carley, to a term ending October 31st, 2014. Parks, Recreation and Conservation Advisory Commission, Chad P. Larson, 1621 Emerson Street, replacing Terry Lee Wilson, to a term ending September 30th, 2014. To the Plan Commission, Tom Seifert, 2577 White Oaks Drive, replacing Deloitte Sanders, to a term ending April 30th, 2012. Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Lukey, second by Spreitzer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Item 9 is council activities and upcoming events. Councilor DeForest.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to share an email received, passed on from Jim Cronin, who heads up our Beloit Area Youth Hockey Association. This is from a visiting, I guess, tournament participant at one of their recent Youth Hockey Association works. She talks about how it's a superb tournament, and she goes on to say, "We were wowed by your facilities, all the helpful support staff and volunteers. We stayed at an excellent nearby hotel, had several terrific meals with the girls, and thoroughly enjoyed our first trip to Beloit." And she goes on to say, "Everyone was singing and will continue to sing the praises of Beloit and the Beloit Youth Area Hockey Association." So I just wanted to share that. I think it's fantastic when people come to our city for the first time and have such a great experience. And along with that, I thoroughly enjoyed BIF, definitely one of our crown jewel events. Talked with many people who are visitors to Beloit for the first time, and were wowed, as in fact this person was, in terms of how far we've come, what we've done to make our city such a great place. So many people have played a significant part in that. Really enjoyed, I got to go to the silent film showcase and a couple of films with my daughter, who's 16 and is looking at colleges, and asked if we would purchase a BIF scarf and hat so she could wear it proudly at her school of choice on the East Coast that she's looking at. So I'm pretty excited about the fact that my kids are proud to be Beloit residents, and we'll carry that on as well. So I want to thank all of the volunteers that made that possible, and of course the fantastic work done by our tourism folks to put on a fantastic film festival. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to remind everyone to vote tomorrow. This is not often that we have such a large election slate for a county judge position. So to remind everybody that how important that truly is, and remind the electorate that the Wisconsin Property Owners League next Monday will be hosting a forum at the Beloit Memorial. It's I think our portion of it starts at something like seven-ish, but they'll be starting at 6 for the other positions that are open, and so we'll look forward to seeing you there. Thanks.
Councilman Randy Bogart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would remind folks that, like Councilor Haynes, that we do have a voting opportunity tomorrow, a little bit different. I did give Ms. Hausman an advance warning. If you could identify for us, Ms. Hausman, the sorts of things we need for voter ID.
Sure. In order to receive a ballot, you will have to prove identity, and you can prove identity by showing a Wisconsin driver's license, a Wisconsin state ID, a U.S. passport, or a military ID. There's some other forms as well that have lots of caveats that I won't go into right now, but certificates of naturalization that aren't more than 2 years old, a student ID, if it's paired with certain things, can also serve as proof of identity. If anybody has any questions, they can call the clerk's office tomorrow.
And what is that number?
364-6680.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I would echo Councilor DeForest's praise for the Beloit International Film Festival. I had the opportunity to attend a number of films, and I had volunteered at an earlier point preparing some of the lanyards for that. The ones that looked kind of sloppy were probably the ones I did. Somebody else did the rest that probably looked better. A couple other things. I did attend the Aldrich Cultural Affair at Aldrich a couple of weeks back, and the Grinnell Chili opportunity last week. Also last week I had the opportunity to attend the Ehlers Financial Seminar at the Kalahari Complex in Wisconsin Dells. Received a big manual, and if any of my fellow councilors would like to go through it, you're certainly welcome to do so. It was at the Kalahari Water Park. It was, by the way, on my own ticket rather than the city's, if that's an issue. So anyway, you're free to look at that anytime you'd like. A couple other things. Actually, one big one that I recalled today while listening to the radio. Take yourselves back, those of you who are old enough. 50 years ago, John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth. He was going around 3 times, and if you recall, we all learned of the possible failure of the straps holding on the heat shield on the back of the Mercury capsule. They told Jules Bergman at ABC News, they told the world, but they didn't tell John Glenn that this thing could have come off in his reentry. Later they'd explained that it wouldn't have made any difference one way or the other. There's nothing they could do about it, so they decided not to tell him of that possible danger. I listened to a brief interview this morning with John Glenn, who's now 90 years old. He and Scott Carpenter, who's 86, are the remaining 2 Mercury astronauts. And Glenn went into space a second time on the shuttle when he was 77 years old. And he had a bit of a joke this morning. He said it was not true that NASA wouldn't let him go on a spacewalk because old guys wander off by themselves and he might have gotten lost. So he still had a sense of humor at 90 years old. But for those of us old enough to remember it, this was big stuff. I can remember getting out of elementary school classes to watch the launches and the reentry, and for years and years I wanted to be an astronaut or an aeronautical engineer, and neither of those came to pass, but this was big stuff 50 years ago, and I'd ask everybody to remember it. Thank you.
Councilor Spreitzer.
Thank you. I also had a chance to enjoy BIF, and again, a great event, and thanks to everyone who made it possible to put that on with countless volunteer hours. It's just gotten better every year, and this year was certainly no exception. I also had a chance to go on a hike with the Welty Center, and want to encourage anybody who's interested in getting outdoors, especially in this unseasonably warm winter, to get in touch with them and see some of the events they have going on. It's a great opportunity to be outside, and even if we can't go skiing, at least go hiking. Also wanted to thank Rebecca for the work on making sure everyone knows how to vote tomorrow, and for the election on April 3rd as well. In particular, for the time I know you've put in fielding inquiries related to making sure that Beloit College students can vote. Certainly that's a process, making sure the student IDs comply, and I know some of the inquiries you've helped with on that, so thank you very much. Also wanted to announce the Empty Bowl lunch that's coming up. I believe it is next Saturday from 11 to 3 at the high school cafeteria, and that's a great fundraiser to support the Hungry, and a number of different charities that are assisting with that. So if you can please keep that on your radar and consider going to that event. I know there's a number of people around the community that have tickets available in advance for it.
Thank you. Council Noodle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to encourage my fellow councilor, Vander Bogart, that, and remind him that it's never too early to live out your dreams, and our futures are in your hand. And nothing further to add. Thank you.
Council Lupke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too attended with a great deal of pride the many festivities this weekend for Biff, and it's just great to see not just out-of-towners, but the Beloit College students and others in Beloit attending with pride this fantastic event that keeps growing. And we're sharing it with our suburbs of Rockford and Janesville. So they're lucky to have us around. Friday, I plan on attending the Hometown Heroes Luncheon at the Angel Museum to honor some notable Beloiters. And are there any Beloit Memorial High School students in the audience tonight taking notes? I think I see one up there. Good. We'll make sure you get an A. Okay. That's all, Mr. President.
Okay. Thank you. And I have no comments this evening, so we move to item 10, which is City Manager's presentation.
We need to set up the projector, please.
Okay. And while they're setting it up, I must remind the students from Beloit that the first group that was here stayed till about 10. So we're trying to break that. We're trying to break that record. So we might get you out around midnight tonight, if that's okay.
I think we're going to break the record, but in the other direction, Mr. President. But here we go. We're coming up. Thank you all very much, Mr. President, councilors, and the greater Beloit community. It's always a pleasure to appear before you each year and do an updated report for the community on major activities that have occurred in the prior year. And as we do every year tonight, once we complete that discussion, we'll talk a little bit about what's going to be happening in the community in 2012. Let me say that it was an interesting year. It was a very, very difficult year. The additional cutbacks in funding, issues we had with some of our cost centers, particularly the employee group health insurance plan, and then more state revenue reductions put the city in a difficult spot. It was a real tough budget cycle. There were position eliminations and other very difficult and painful cuts that had to go through. And despite this, it was still, I think, a very successful year for the city when you look at public facility and infrastructure upgrades, economic development activities that went on in the community. And I'm going to quickly walk through a number of those this evening. A lot of general community enhancements occurred last year, and I should point out that not all of this stuff was necessarily related to a single calendar year. Many of these are long-term capital improvement projects that had been included in the capital spending plan and had been underway with design, in some cases right-of-way acquisition and other lead activities going on for a number of years. But 2011 was one of those years where a lot of this stuff came to fruition. Early in June, we dedicated the Steve Gregg Memorial Path in memory of Steve Gregg, the former assistant city manager. This path runs along the east side of the river. It's the main bike and pedestrian path from behind the Beloit Inn, running all the way north to Henry Avenue. And this signage not only served as a memorial for Steve, but also helps to highlight the path, make it easier for people to follow, particularly around the Portland Avenue Bridge, so they don't have to cross through traffic at grade there. The Visitor Center, this was a coup that occurred this year. There was an effort a number of years ago when the state closed the Visitor Center out on Interstate 3990 to try and get control and be able to use that. That was finally accomplished this year. Visit Beloit, our Convention and Visitors Bureau, was able to open this facility. They actually now have 3 visitor centers serving Beloit. Renewable energy, we are very proud of our solar energy project. As you know, we've been an eco municipality now for some 4 or 5 years. We have an ongoing sustainability program that's somewhat comprehensive in scope. We've been doing some pretty pure research on things like hydrogen electrolysis for use in internal combustion engines. We did our renewable energy alternative study As you recall, about 2 years ago, came up with a number of options. The one that seemed most realistic and practical was the solar panels on City Hall. We're producing about 8% of our energy with those panels at the present time. And of course, as energy costs go up, the savings will magnify over the years. Neighborhood stabilization program is continuing. We're actually into phase 3 funding now. The city has 4 houses that have been completed. They're still available for sale. I had an opportunity to talk to our broker, Vicky JJ, this weekend, and again, the market is still weak. Availability of mortgage financing is a major issue that she's contending with throughout the city and the region. But we're still trying to move these houses, and we've got a couple more that have been acquired that are being remodeled, and they'll also be available for sale probably by mid to late summer. This is the program where we purchase properties that have been foreclosed upon, and the city either demos them if it's a derelict property that is beyond salvation. If they're good, we remodel them, put them back on the market for sale. Any of the proceeds from the sale of the units are able to go back into the stabilization fund, so we can use that money to buy and remodel more properties. Public housing, first phase is essentially done. We've got a few site restoration issues remaining for the spring. Phase 2 has started. We've got a number of those units that are ready to go. We're actually going to be remodeling all but the 9 scattered single-site large bedroom units that are to be sold at the end of the project. Obviously, we're not remodeling those units, but they will be cleaned up and put on the market for sale as soon as we finish phase 2. And much of that work is over at the senior site there on, was it Portland and 5th, just west of the city, or in the western half of the city. Also did a lot of public infrastructure work last year. Much of this was done because of limited funding, was done in TIP districts, or was the completion of various grant projects. Downtown, we did a lot of projects downtown because the expenditure period on the TIF ends this September, and so we need to get these projects in place. Once again, some of these had been in planning for several years. State Street was the first big improvement. We did it early so it could be reopened in time for the summer farmers market. We did the brick treatment, the bump outs, enhancements, some additional landscaping, substantial aesthetic upgrade, and it really solidified this block as being at the core of Beloit's historic downtown. The other piece that was added was a gantry project. This was a project of the Downtown Beloit Association. They actually developed the concept and worked with a designer to produce this plan. This is a structure, and it's a combination of a structure and a piece of artwork, and once again, it fills the terminating vista at the intersection of State and Grand, and also serves as a reminder of Beloit's heavy metal industrial past. And that was a primary theme, again, was to celebrate our industrial heritage. Sherlin Avenue repairs, another project downtown that was undertaken this year. We had a section there where the roadway was badly deteriorated. These projects were also done downtown, Bushnell, Prospect, and College. Most of the streets remaining in the downtown area within that TIP district that had not previously been reconstructed were done this year, again in anticipation of the closure of the TIP's expenditure period this fall. Shard Street was the last one of those we completed this year. Cranston Road reconstruction, this is out in TID 13, the Milwaukee Road TIP district. This is the piece between roughly the frontage roads along Milwaukee and the railroad tracks. We put in lighting, we put in the bike trails along here, and reconstructed the deteriorated roadway. There's some minor work left in the spring with landscaping, and we'll get that done. The Henry Avenue Bridge was closed to traffic back in September. That project is ongoing. Contractor's actually running a little ahead of schedule. You probably won't be surprised to hear that because of all the mild winter weather. We're still looking at reopening the bridge on or about September 1st of 2012, which is the construction schedule. Utility improvements, most of these are essentially done now. We had the sludge dewatering and odor control, wastewater treatment. All the major construction is complete, and there's actually starting to run the dewatering process. And they've been doing that now for a few weeks. The deep well 14 and the new reservoir and pump house are essentially complete. I think they're still in testing. I'll find out this week if we've actually begun using it yet. And finally, the settlement pond project up at Kruger Haskell, which unfortunately ran into our golf playing season last year. The original plan was to have that done during the off-season, and bad weather last winter and spring pushed the restoration out into the summer. So we had to deal with that at the golf course during the year. That's all completed now, and our Parks and Leisure Services folks have a strong marketing program underway to try to bring all the players back this year. We hope everybody comes back and enjoys the beautiful Kruger Haskell Golf Course. Economic development, despite the recession and the continued higher than normal unemployment rates, a lot of neat things were going on in Beloit this year. We got an opportunity to get Fat Wallet. They came into the old Cary building, which the city now owns, occupied about 40% of it, brought 54 jobs back into downtown Beloit with their relocation, and we did initially a one-year lease. Actually, we've got a teleconference with them later this week talking about options for the building. They've expressed a lot of interest in the facility and looking at staying there for a longer period of time. So that would be very exciting. Hopefully we can facilitate that. Kettle Foods doubled production capacity at the Beloit facility. This is essentially the production facility for their East Coast sales because of the package we offered and some of the other advantages of staying and doing business in Beloit. They've stayed here and doubled the size of their production capacity, investing about $38 million. Over the next several months, they'll be creating 100 new jobs at that facility as well. And the Alliance Warehouse goes along with it. This is a companion project, 110,000 square feet, about a $5 million investment. They'll be adding 20 new jobs to run the distribution center that will support Kettle Chips. Genencore expansion, 128,000 square feet, mostly additional production capacity at $30 million invested, only creating 3 new jobs, unfortunately, because they have staff available to operate the facility. Doing it in 2 phases. You saw a big chunk last year. Second part of it will be completed this coming June. North Star Medical Radioisotopes, their production facility, not only their first, but the first one in the United States to produce these radioisotopes, will begin work this summer. They're going to do about an 82,000 square foot facility. They'll have a number of these LINX or linear accelerators when the project is complete. Looking at investing $194 million. Construction will actually begin in June of 2012. In fact, they're talking about possibly even before that on the building. The linear accelerators probably will not begin construction until sometime early in 2013. The company has discovered that the permitting process for those somewhat longer than they originally anticipated. So we should still see construction this spring. The building will start to go up. And obviously they'll be beginning production probably sometime by mid-14 at the very latest. 150 jobs will be created there by 2016. Many of these are very good paying jobs in the medical technology industry. Cary Customer Center expansion, 29,000 square feet. The new wing is up. I'm not sure where they are on occupying the interior. They're going to be moving a lot of offices and administrative functions to this new wing and then converting that space within the core building to support more flavor and pharmaceutical operations. They do a lot of their research and development and product development. It's actually done at this facility. They're investing about $8 million, 47 new jobs, construction underway, and they'll be done there in a few months. Woodman's Warehouse was also expanded this year, 32,000 square feet of additional distribution space. So we're very pleased to see the company investing almost $1.5 million in the city of Beloit, and again reinforcing their interest in staying here for their main warehouse and distribution facility. That project is complete and occupied. Morris Group over in the gateway, this picture's a little old. They actually have that building up now and they're finishing out the interior. Put a 25,000 square foot addition onto their project. Tilly's Pizza here in downtown on 4th Street, invested $1.2 million, 5,200 square feet. When the new building is done and occupied, the old building will be removed and the parking lot expanded to accommodate their customers. The Beloit Casino project, as you know, is very much active and back alive. The Ho-Chunk Nation, which purchased the casino site, has again approached the city. We're close to the final stages of negotiating the intergovernmental agreement, which is the document that would establish the basic operating relationship between the Native American tribe and the city and county as the host communities for this facility, which would actually be located on land taken into trust by the federal government on behalf of the tribe in order for their use. We said we're just about finalized with that. That will start a fairly lengthy application process. Will take about 2 years probably to get through all of the steps that are required by the Federal Indian Gaming Regulatory Act before the casino land would be approved for trust. If everything moves forward, they have a 32-acre or 32-acre site here that would be taken into trust. There's about 700,000 square feet of new building, including a 300-room hotel, conference and convention center, theaters, restaurants, all the related facilities that will go on this site. So there's a lot more here than just a casino. This is going to be a major destination site for the state line area and a major generator of jobs. They're looking at spending about $150 to $200 million in construction contracts during the build-out phase, which will probably certainly will take more than 1 year for a project of that size. Once they're operational, they have approximately 2,000 employees. Most of those, based on the tribe's prior experience, will be hired from the local community. Again, the group has agreed to make fee and impact statements to the city and to Rock County as a part of the project. What's coming for 2012? We're doing real well, so let me keep moving. City Center projects. Again, I mentioned the TIF district expiring. We have a few months and a few odds and ends left. We want to do some resurfacing and reconstruction, do a few of the parking lots downtown, make sure they're in excellent condition when the TIF expenditure period closes, because we will not have resources to deal with these, certainly for the next several years. Some of the street amenities downtown now are getting to be 12, 15 years old. There's been an inventory done. Some of those will be repaired, repainted, and or replaced as necessary. General infrastructure citywide, pardon me, we will have the 2012 annual element to the sidewalk improvement program as we do each year. There's money in the CIP for terrace tree planting for the year as usual. Bike path extension projects have been and will continue to be worked on. As council's aware, there's a project underway looking at connections to the south, which would go through South Beloit and tie the Wisconsin bike systems through the city of Beloit to the Illinois system. And we're also looking at an extension to the north that would go up to tie into the city of Janesville's system and some of the glacial drum and glacial trails and what have you that are located north of Beloit. And we're also looking at trying to begin planning for some trail extensions here within the city as well. Intermittent street resurfacing will be the only major street reconstruction work the public will see this next year. That's where we do the milling and overlay, intermittent curb repairs and replacements as necessary. And again, there are no other major streets scheduled for reconstruction. Of course, the Henry Avenue Bridge will be completed, as we noted earlier. We're continuing design work on the Inman Parkway extension. That has accelerated a little bit. At the state level, there's going to be state and federal funding available for that project, and probably will actually go to construction within the next about 3 years. That project will actually go to construction. Some park and recreation facility enhancements, as we do every year. We had to cut back on that a little bit for 2012, but there's still some money left in the CIP, and there's a little carryover money from the 10 and 11 elements of the plan as well. So there will be some minor improvements you'll be seeing around the city to our parks and various facilities. Public safety upgrades, a huge chunk of the city's capital spending plan this year was set aside for public safety. The cardiac monitor, defibrillator equipment for the fire department, all of those are being replaced this year in every piece of apparatus. That needs to be done all at one time, so every piece of equipment is exactly identical, and all of our employees are trained, and once you're trained on one, regardless of what piece of equipment you're on, you can use them all. The records management system for the police department is also being upgraded this year. This is a fairly expensive, mostly I believe that's a software upgrade. We'll be replacing a number, virtually all of the mobile and portable radios to meet the new federal narrowband mandate. These are the new digital technology equipment, and that's all being replaced again under this year's capital spending plan. And finally, some of the mobile video cameras that go into the police cars, we're also going to be doing a number of replacements with those this year. So all told, there's a little over $1 million there in new public safety equipment, make sure our police and fire departments have the latest and best equipment available to serve the community. Utility systems, we talked about, well, we didn't mention we talked about the Henry Avenue Bridge, but there's also a water main extension that goes across that bridge to increase water supply to the west side of the city, and that will be built this year as well. The west side retention pond is getting to an age where it needs to be dredged and have some reconstruction work done on it. We want to improve its ability to function as a wet retention facility, including its settlement capacity to get suspended solids out of the stormwater as well. So that project will be done probably later in the season. General sanitary sewer repairs, some treatment plant upgrades. These are ones that are done every year out of the city's routine operating income for the sewer utility. Riverside Park improvements, we're still working on the north end Riverside Park, looking at realigning the bike path to line it up with the new Henry Avenue Bridge bike path, putting in some new walkways and a sign and entry treatment on the far north end. Little else would be done. The rest of the north end of the park will be left as is with the green space and trees, mostly open space in that area. Neighborhood revitalization continues. We talked a little bit about the neighborhood revitalization program itself. Earlier, we got more money under Phase 3, and we're continuing to do that. Public housing remodeling and energy efficiency. Phase 2 should be completed by fall, and that would complete all of the work on the city's public housing units. Citywide code enforcement, rental property inspections will continue, and the CBG and home program implementation will continue this year. Although we did have a loss of CDBG funding for 2012, and some changes in the budget will be necessitated. That'll be coming to council, I believe, in the month of March for consideration. And our housing assistance, economic development loan programs are in place, and those will continue forward in 2012 as well. So those are the things that will be going on to continue to support and revitalize our city center neighborhoods. Private economic development projects, Kettle essentially complete and is occupied or is occupying a new building. North Star will begin construction. Morris Electric is completed and occupied. Cary Edition occupied. Work will continue with the Ho-Chunk Nation on the Beloit Casino project. HB Specialty Foods expansion of 40,000 square feet. Standalone building. They're just now getting started. The building itself will probably be going up within the next 30 to 60 days, and that building should be completed by mid to late summer. It's not a huge project, and they got the footing and foundations in under an early building permit. And we're still hopeful. We are getting more inquiries now from companies doing site selection work in this area, and we're still hopeful that we'll get at least one more economic development projects for the city in 2012. With that, that kind of concludes a quick pass over things that happened of significance in 2011 and the things we're looking forward to 2012. If anybody has any additional questions or would like me to cover anything else, I'll be happy to do that. If not, Mr. President, I'll turn it back to you.
Councilor Springs.
Thanks for the presentation. A couple of questions. On the solar panels, obviously that was in large part intended as a demonstration project. Can you talk about what the plans are to ultimately do more publicity on that and make people aware of it? Obviously, being on top of the building, you can drive by and not know they're there.
Yeah, it's really on top of the building. It doesn't even show up very well. We would be happy to do that. Yes, certainly it was a demonstration project. Most of these alternative energy programs are. We used the Department of or the Energy Block Grant Program to cover part of the cost. It didn't cover all the cost for the panels, and we did it as a demonstration project. We wanted to find out how well it would work on a facility like the City Hall, and where we're located here, we have good exposure to the south and southwest, so it's a good spot to try the photovoltaic solar and to see how that works. So, yeah, we'll be following up. We probably will make a report to you after we get a 5 or 6 month period to see how things work. It'll be really interesting through the summer when we have the air conditioning running in the building and obviously more sun higher in the sky for a longer period each day. It'll be a little bit interesting this summer to see how that works. We'll try to get back to council with a full report this fall.
Thanks. One other question on the resurfacing and reconstruction of the downtown parking lots. What's the timeline on that, and will it be staggered or all at once? How will it affect the farmers market?
Now, it'll be staggered. I think the first lot we were going to do, we went over and over this 2 or 3 times, was the Broad Street. We were going to do Broad Street first and get that done before the farmers market even begins. The parking lot on the west side, I guess, by the river, the Mill Street parking lot is a little more complicated because we've got all the employee parking in that area as well.
That's just opposite.
Pardon?
Mill Street first, it has more impact on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mill first and Broad is second. I know we went around and around on which one we were going to do first and second, but it looks like we are going to do Mill first, and that's the biggest one, so that will impact the farmers market probably most positively. And then Broad Street will be done later. The other one's the reconstruction, because that lot's very old. It hasn't had anything done to it for decades, and that's the one on West Grand Avenue there, just past 4th. And I'm not sure what the timeline is for that. That'll be later in the summer sometime. That's kind of off by itself, so we can kind of do that one on its own.
Thanks.
Any other council have any questions or comments? Councilor DeForest.
Will the PowerPoint be on the website, Larry?
Yeah, we'll put it on the website, and we've got a couple of community presentations already scheduled for various clubs and organizations, but we'll get it on the website as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Larry, for that presentation. Item 11, reports from boards and city officers. 11A, please.
A resolution authorizing a conditional use permit to allow an outdoor seating area and the outdoor sales, possession, and consumption of alcohol in a C3 community commercial district for the property located at 65 Portland Avenue, which is Klein's Club 88. The Plan Commission recommended approval 5-0.
Ms. Christensen, please.
Dave Klein Sr., the owner of Klein's Club 88, has filed for this conditional use permit to allow the outdoor seating area. You may recall we reviewed this in November. You laid it over until the Board of Appeals had made their decision on the fence. The proposed outdoor seating area does consist of a covered bar area, an uncovered deck, an emergency exit, and ramps leading from the deck to the elevated bar area. It is 1,450 square feet. And it's proposed to include 8 tables and 32 chairs. Board of Appeals met on February 7th, and they did approve the area variance to allow a privacy fence that is 8 feet in height in the front setback area, which was proposed by the applicant. So we did revise condition 3 to reflect what Board of Appeals actually approved. So what's before you tonight is a resolution approving the outdoor seating area with the following 10 conditions, which is that the conditional use permit authorizes the 1,450 square foot or 25 by 58 outdoor seating area on the east side of the existing building, as shown in the application attachments, and the extension of the sales, possession, and consumption of alcohol into said area. Prior to the establishment of the conditional uses, the applicant shall amend the liquor license for the premises to include the outdoor seating area. The outdoor seating area shall be surrounded by a privacy fence that is 8 feet in height as authorized by the Board of Appeals on February 7th, 2012. Before construction begins, the applicant shall obtain an architectural review certificate and a building permit. The maximum capacity shall be 32 people, except during the previously authorized special events. The maximum capacity shall be posted inside the building and within the outdoor seating area, and the door leading to the outdoor seating area shall be marked as an exit. The outdoor seating area shall include an emergency exit door or gate that leads to the parking lot. The door or gate shall be at least 3 feet wide, and a clear exit path shall be maintained. The applicant shall provide a visible and/or audible fire alarm within the outdoor seating area. Music may not be played in the outdoor seating area after 10 p.m. The outdoor seating area shall include trash and recycling containers, and all litter shall be disposed of daily. And then the standard condition about any major changes coming back through this public process and minor changes being able to be approved administratively.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion for approval.
Motion by Lukey. Is there a second? Second by Spreitzer. Counselor comments or questions? Counselor DeForest.
Thank you. I have several questions. Ms. Christensen, there was a note in the report that there was one person who objected to this plan. Could you talk a little bit about the nature of their objection?
I wasn't at the meeting, so I honestly don't know. I didn't.
Do we have a city council representative there?
We do not have a city council representative on Board of Appeals.
I'm excited to see that the fence was approved, and I wanted to ask if the owners will be obligated to use the type of design of fence that was included in our packets. How much can they vary from that? I'm glad to see that the fence design has some brick pillars that are breaking up, so it's not just a solid wall. I guess I just wanted to make sure how much enforcement is there of the actual design of that fence.
Staff has approval through the architectural review process. I mean,
Okay.
so we do have the approval of the actual design of the fence, and
Okay, great, thank you.
Counselor Newman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Christensen, with this expansion then, will there be, have they expressed any interest in adding any additional landscaping units?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
Counselor DeForest.
Sorry, I thought of one actually major question. In the original application, there was an outdoor seating area that was proposed along Portland Avenue. I'm assuming that's not included anymore. Is that correct?
That is not included because that's in the right-of-way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other counselor comments, questions? There is a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes 7-0. Item 12, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by DeForest. Is there a second? Second by Spreitzer. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.